Cecily, I love the start of your career. Because we hear a lot of family members joining the family business because they get the call. They get there's someone takes them to the side and tells them you're needed. And what I love about the start of your story with the family business with QSS is that it took two pretty convincing tries for your father to convince you to join the family business. First of all, I think for all our listeners, first of all, tell us how to say no to our fathers, because I think sometimes that can be a very useful tool.
Yes, very much
And
so.
secondly, secondly, tell us, why did you say no the first time round, and why yes decades later, really?
I suppose when I look at it, with our business being steel industry, it's very male dominated. So growing up in the business, I've only got a sister and my mum, and we never talked about us being part of it. So it wasn't something that was even in the forefront of my mind when I was thinking about my career, that that's a step I might take. So when he approached me to come into the business, I'd been working in construction development at that stage, and it just completely took me by surprise. It wasn't something I was expecting. He had actually started the process of talking to a consultant about transition, what that looks for him, what some options are for him. And they had mentioned, have you thought about your daughter? She's in construction. It's very similar worlds. So when he came to us, we sat down with this consultant, we talked about it. We actually even did like a whole personality assessment to see whether we could work together. And we went through that process. It was about 3 months of talking. And I think it just in my gut, I still had so much to learn in other environments that I didn't think it was the right time. And to be honest, I was still so shocked by it. I don't think I was ready to say yes. So I parked that, and I honestly didn't think it was going to be a conversation we have again. I thought it was done and dusted because we didn't talk about it again. And then he surprised me again 10 odd years down the track. I had just started my own consultancy business. Just had my first child. And it was more ways, the way he worded it this time was, can you just come in and help me with the finance side? Because that's kind of where I'd started my career. So I'd said, okay, sure, I can balance the both. And then I stepped in, and then I realized what help it needed, and it escalated from there. So it was a very different way in which it was approached second time round. And again, it was something I was surprised with. I wasn't expecting. So, and then that's where it all kind of started 14 years ago.
I just want to ask you about how your opinion changed about the family business once you were in it, but also how did you make other people's opinions change about what the family business should look like?
When I came on, everyone was in negative leave. Half the staff had loans with my father. There was no employment contracts. There were some fairly negative people that were in the business, a lot of egos, typically because it's all men. And so I was kind of went, there's so many things I need to look at and address. And it was something that I was very conscious of as a couple of different facets. I was conscious that I was the daddy's little girl scenario. I was conscious that I was coming into an industry that I wasn't fully knowledgeable of. And I was also conscious that I was coming in as a female. So when I walked in on that, I made sure that before I took any major changes, other than some taking off the loans and creating some basic contracts, I really spent a lot of time building my knowledge of the business. So I travelled overseas to steel mills to understand how we created steel, customers of how they used it on our floor to see how we managed it upstairs. So I really made sure I'd spent the time so that I could then go, well, now I have that understanding, the knowledge of it. And then I looked at what changes needed to come. And it wasn't something I did overnight. It was something that I slowly did because change is difficult for everyone. So me coming in for a start was a massive change. I used to use the disabled toilet. There wasn't even a female toilet when I started. So it was something that I was really conscious of. And so we spent a lot of time with me for them accepting the fact that I was there, and then slowly building trust, not only with my staff, but also, my father and also our customers and our traders. It was a matter of having to prove myself like everyone does. But I think there was a lot of more elements in there because of the female side and being a family member and proving my worth that I actually had value to be there.
Your father really wanted you to join. And was it tense in your relationship with him, or did you manage to communicate through this turmoil?
It was very, very difficult because he looked at it and goes, well, this is good the way it is. What do we need to bring changes? And a lot of the changes, what I'm bringing in was more specifically the HR side of things, where, you've got all these governance and all these rules and regulations, to put in, and he disorders. So having to educate him and go, this is necessity, this is something we need, or the workplace health and safety side of things, or looking at different ways and we can approach the business and make things more efficient. He was very clever in the way that he knew that IT was going to be a big part. So before I even started, he actually created our own computer system, which we've really built and developed into something fantastic now, which really we use to make us really quite efficient. So I learned to slow it all down, to get all the facts, to be able to bring that to a conversation and go, well, I'm thinking about doing this. What are your viewpoints?
It's amazing, right? Like, because you come in, first you help out, and then you become basically indispensable to the organization, and then you become CEO. First woman to join the family business, first woman CEO, clearly, but also the first woman CEO in your industry in Australia. Which is harder, being the first woman in your family business or being the first woman in your industry to achieve that level?
I think both of them had a lot of challenges. I think both of them had benefits and both of them had flaws in both ways. Coming into the family business and having to really show my father that he'd made the right decision, because to be honest, him bringing me on was a risk for him too, right? Whether that was the right thing, and bringing a female into a very male dominated environment. I think he thought I was going to come in and just do what he wanted me to do. And when I pushed back, there was difficulties. And I think he was surprised that, I think he thought, and he's even said, I know that she could achieve something, but I didn't think it could go as far as it has. So, we've built it, the business has certainly grown since I've been here. And that's not just me, that's the people we've now got working for us and consultants and all that kind of stuff. You put the right people around you, and naturally you're going to grow. You're going to have successes because you ensure that you have the people that are championing not only me, but my team and the business as a whole. And that includes not only consultants, but also the right customers that you gain by doing that as well. Women have value as leaders. And I don't think we're giving enough opportunity. I think there's a lot of these misconceptions about women and taking those leads. And I think it's starting to change because we have emotional intelligence that we take on board.
When you consciously came into a leadership position and you consciously started to lead the people in the organization, like, how do you revisit your leadership style?
For me personally, I found out that just having a business coach and having a one-on-one for me works for my type of learning and focus. But I've also made sure with my leadership style that I've created people around me that I can bounce ideas off. So I call them my tribe. I do really listen to some really good podcasts. I do webinars if I see it necessary. I did a course last year, which was facilitated and on the basis of the Brene Brown, her way of her fundamentals. That really helps. So I think it's always finding something that you connect to, and making sure that works. And then even sitting down, and if I'm talking to my staff and if I've done something wrong, actually taking ownership. Like that's a big part in leadership because a lot of people don't.
Do you think you will know when it's time for you to leave, when your leadership can't evolve anymore to the point where it serves the company?
I think I will. Yeah, because I look at the way that my father has transitioned, and I've looked at the way that some other family businesses have transitioned, and I'm really aware of how I want that to be for me. So I am already now forward planning to a degree what that would look like, you know, and not trying to be in the trenches so much and stepping back to allow my staff to shine because I've got good people working for me. And the more I can step back and let them to do it, the more the business is going to be able to run without me having to be so involved. And I'm never not going to not be involved. But if I allow those people to do their jobs and be able to step up and step up and step up, who knows what we can achieve because there's someone else. And that's a matter of us together as a team to be able to build it to the next level, whatever that might be for us.
Is there anything else that you feel family businesses around you are not doing enough of right now, where you're like, I'm very concerned that this is going to mean that after this generation, it's over?
I think that spending the time to be able to ensure that, your corporate structures are in place, that there's an external person that the family members can all use as a mediator when things go wrong. That person doesn't have to be employed by the business all the time. It could be ad hoc, but there's someone that all the family respect, that they can come in and to be able to support the business.
How long do you think it's going to take to see more women now at the leadership level in the industry? Do you have a bet going, like how many years it's going to take?
Look, I would love it to happen quicker. Like my business 14 years ago, there was just me. Now I've got, I think there's 18% women in my business now. And that's not only just in office, that's on my floor, as that's my warehouse floor, and I I hope it's starting to happen more. There is more women coming in. I am starting to see a change, not as quicker as I'd like it to be, but at least there's change happening. It's not just staying still and it's evolving, right? Like I love saying, it needs to keep on moving forward. I think that this industry is starting to see the value that women can bring to it. And we just need more women at the table to be able to have their say and to be able to prove their worth, because they are damn old due for that.